All right, we're good to go. Oh, it didn't announce that this meeting is being recorded like it normally does. All right, well, we're all set to get started. There is a lot of information that I'm planning to share tonight for those of you that are maybe watching the recording, or if you're trying to get acclimated with how things are going to work tonight. We're going to have two workshops. So from 8 to, my plan is a hard stop at 8:45. We're going to go over all things essential oils with pregnancy, postpartum, labor and delivery, babies, children, teenagers, the whole age groups. And then at 8:45, we're going to transition, and I'll be going over ideas for feeding development for those of you that might resonate with maybe you have a picky eater or a problem eater, and we'll kind of talk about that, some tips and tricks to help your baby or child develop in their feeding skills, and then also talk about language development. So there's a lot planned for tonight. So that workshop will go from 8:45 to about 9:30. What I would love is if you're able to put things in the chat so that we can keep it interactive. My plan is to go over a lot, but I'd also like it to be specific to what you would like to take away. So if you don't mind, put what you'd like to learn in the chat, and I'd be happy to go through things as we go. But before we get started, I'll just share a little bit about me and why these topics that I'm sharing on tonight are a passion point for me. My name is Katrina Potter. I live in the Chittenango area in New York. I have been a speech language pathologist with a specialty in pediatric feeding development. So working with children that are picky eaters, problem eaters, helping with oral motor development, and then also with language acquisition, meaning helping a child to develop in their communication skills. So that's that background. And then about 6.5 years ago, I was introduced to the world of essential oils and I immediately fell in love. It changed my whole life. At the time, we were going through, I had a lot of skin issues and I didn't realize what the underlying cause was. And every time I went to the doctor, it was, here, go on this or try this or go, take this. And I spent thousands of dollars trying to figure out what was going on, tried just about everything that I could find to help out. And it wasn't until I found holistic living, started focusing on the root cause and implementing supplements and essential oils that I saw that difference. And so that catapulted a passion for me to share the knowledge of essential oils with families that I was working with. And from there, it just continued to snowball. 2 years later, I transitioned and I began focusing on sharing the benefits of essential oils full time. So I've been doing that for about 4.5 years. I then transitioned into becoming a certified integrative holistic life coach because I'm really passionate about communicating what we're feeling and really getting true to our authentic self and emotional development. So I'm also planning to weave in some of that tonight as well. I also have two daughters of my own, Olivia, who is 4, and Madeline, who is a year and a half. So I have actually used essential oils to help with fertility right through to pregnancy, labor and delivery, through the baby years. And so my plan is to share some of the things that I learned. A couple disclaimers. All of this information is just, my intention is to share things that I have picked up along the way through different resources. You figure out what aligns with you and your parenting style and take that nugget of information and leave behind what doesn't feel in alignment. But that just kind of gives me permission to feel fully expressed. I'll share what I'm passionate about, take it or leave it. No hard feelings either way. So I talked already my intentions, but just to reiterate, I'll plan to talk about how you can really maximize the health of your body during pregnancy, your child's body, your baby's body, all of that. How to safely use essential oils. We'll talk about some of the common questions that people have, talk about protocols, and then I'll go over um, how to effectively get started with oils if that is the thing. Okay, cool. I was just reading the chat. I can't multitask apparently, but I tried. So just real quick, little talk about why essential oils and why that makes sense. In mainstream focus, when it comes to health, we really look at the symptoms first rather than looking at the root. So the same concept applies as we're carrying this over into children, is that we really are wanting to look at the root and really create a foundation of health that's different than the typical medical model, where we're focusing on figuring out what the root cause is and really helping to be proactive with our health and our child's health rather than reactive. So when we look at implementing essential oils are basically the immune system of a plant. Every plant has its own immune system. It is able to be extracted from the bark, the leaf, the stem, the fruit, pulled out and put into our body, and our body can reap the same benefits. Without going too far into it, just a quick little science lesson here with essential oils. They're able to target viral, they're able to target bacterial. And so you're able to really look at pulling an essential oil to support your body when it comes to anti-inflammatory, antifungal, antibacterial, anti whatever. So we're going to talk about different essential oils that'll best support your child depending on what they're going through, but know that when we're looking at essential oils, you really can use them for the gamut of health concerns for both you and your child. A couple quick little safety tips before we dive in. Know that the information shared tonight is specific to high quality essential oils. And I share this disclaimer because I've had women come to classes before and they said, well, I have already tried essential oils on my daughter and she broke out in hives. Unfortunately, the world of essential oils is not created equal. And so when you're looking at a bottle can say 100% pure essential oil, and only 10 to 20% of that bottle needs to be what it says it is. That's scary when we're talking pregnancy, when we're talking newborns, when we're talking children. Their skin is really sensitive. And anything that we apply to our skin, that we breathe in, that we ingest, goes into our bloodstream. And so if we only know what 80 to 90% of that bottle is, it defeats the whole purpose of being natural in our healthcare model. And so it's really important to select a high quality essential oil. Tonight I'll be talking about doTERRA. That's my passion point. I firmly trust the company. I believe in it. There's a reason that they're the #1 essential oil company in the world. Their essential oils have gone through rigorous testing. So if you want to see where they came from, all the testing that's been done, you can go to source2u.com and you can see all of the testing that has been done to that specific batch, which I think is great. When you see, I just was somewhere yesterday and there was hand sanitizer sitting out and it said now made with essential oils, and I was like, oh, isn't that cute? So I wanted to peek at the back and read the ingredients, and it says, markets now made with essential oil. You look at the back and it's all harmful toxic chemicals. There's not one plant name in there, but they're able to market made with essential oil. So when we look at that, we have synthetic essential oils made in a lab, and then we have natural essential oils that come from a plant. What we're talking about tonight are the natural that come from a plant. Okay. So that's just a little bit of foundation for those of you that are joining that maybe are brand new to essential oils, just so you kind of feel like, okay, I kind of understand where we're going with this, because there's going to be a lot of information shared. And I just want to make sure that it's continuing education for those of you that are already familiar with essential oils. And then it also weaves in that foundation for those of you that are joining that are brand new and interested in using oils on your kids. So we'll make it hopefully feel comfortable for both. So I was talking a little bit about being proactive, and this is the pyramid that you'll see within doTERRA as far as how to view healthcare and living. And oftentimes we bypass this when it comes to our children because we say, oh, kids aren't going to eat that, or oh, they're fine, their bodies are resilient. But their itty bitty bodies really are susceptible to a lot of chemicals. We are exposed to more chemicals in one day than our ancestors were in a lifetime. So if we have too much of these chemicals, how is that going to impact our health and our children's health? So if we're looking at this is really how we're viewing our health and our children's health. The main foundation is eating habits. And so that's why I wanted to share some ideas around picky eaters. So again, feel free to stay on for that 8:45 workshop. Movement and exercise, management of stress. So I'm going to talk about some ways in the second workshop to effectively communicate to your child so that it sets them up for emotional wellness. Talking about reducing toxic load. So we're going to talk about ways that you can swap out some of those toxins that are typically found in the home. And then we do an 8-week, I actually think we're doing 12-week rotation of education. Every Wednesday night, we do a different topic. And our intention as a team is to really pour into each other, this community, to provide you with information so that you can create your own view of proactive medical care. You can feel informed in your own self-care for both you and your children. So I'll share the schedule at the end. When we talk about our kids' health, so even the healthiest of eaters, there still are nutrition gaps. And if you look at this little diagram, it shows one apple that was consumed in the 1950s is the equivalent to 100 apples nutrient-wise today. One orange, we would have to eat 21 oranges to get the same level of nutrients. So what does this mean? It's really important to also be weaving in other supplements to help support your child, a multivitamin, an omega. We're going to talk about that in just a second. One thing that I forgot to mention, feel free to screenshot anything that comes up, because I put some stuff on the slides that I'm not necessarily going to talk about just for the sake of time. So feel free, you can screenshot, take pictures, do whatever with this. But you'll also get an ebook. So if you registered for this, which all of you have, I have your email, and in the next couple of days, I'll be emailing you this as well. Okay, so it's just really important to be looking at supplements. Now, supplements, just like essential oils, they're not created equal. So what does that mean? We really need to be looking for high quality supplements as well. And I'll talk about some things with that. The other thing to keep in mind is our gut connects to our brain. That's what gets our immune system supported. It's what keeps our mood regulated. And so it's really important to keep that gut healthy, which is why that second workshop is so important, of talking about ways that you can boost their eating habits. But you also can get into a daily protocol of different supplements. So these are this is the protocol that we follow in our house. A probiotic that gives the digestive system healthy bacteria. So getting your child, especially if they're taking or have taken an antibiotic, get them on a probiotic. But just in general, foods that we eat kill that good bacteria in our digestive system. So PB Assist Junior is a probiotic. It tastes like a pixie stick. It's delicious. IQ Mega, that's a fish oil, really good for brain health. So think about all of those healthy fats that help the brain process and grow and develop, critical for children. A to Z, that's a multivitamin, and then Terrazyme is a digestive enzyme. So you'll see this is just a little checklist. And then there's also something called Symphony of the Cells, and I'm going to share with that in just a second, but that's something that you would want to do on a 3-day rotation. So that's a layering technique of oils, but this is just a little bit about some daily protocols that you can get into. Some other things that you can do to help your kid if you're noticing that they're having some digestive upset is an elimination diet. Now, this doesn't need to be super intense and traumatic, but you can pick one food. These are some high trigger foods that typically bother our bodies. So you can pick one of these and start to eliminate that for 30 days and just see the impact. I know for us, when our oldest daughter was little, we had to omit dairy, gluten, soy, corn. Like, she was really sensitive. And then as we really developed her digestive system and helped her with different supplements and things, that sensitivity reduced. But it's just great to know. How did we know? She had eczema, she had chronic mucus, she had what else? Chronic cough. So those are indications of some things going on in the belly. Other things that we do routine chiropractic adjustments. We just went today. My husband and I go once a week. The girls go once a month. And this is our chiropractor, Dr. Pete. He's in Oneida. But I firmly believe in chiropractic. And I know it has, like, in the very beginning, I was a little nervous. I took them, Madeline, This is Madeline. She looks like a little diva in this picture. It cracks me up. She started going to a chiropractor when she was 2 days old. And then Olivia went at 8 weeks old. And I'll tell you why later on. But it's when I was first introduced, I was a little nervous, but I was told I had to do it with some, they both had a lip and a tongue tie. So I dove into it. I'm like, all right, we'll try it. I was nervous and I was blown away. Olivia was dealing with some constipation as a baby, and she went for a chiropractic adjustment, and she got adjusted. The chiropractor no sooner finished saying, she's probably gonna have a bowel movement pretty soon, and it was seconds later she had a bowel movement. I just was blown away, and I continued to see results. Madeline was struggling with crawling, her hip was turning out, got a chiropractic adjustment, immediately started crawling. Things like that. It's just great. And you can see some other reasons on why chiropractic is great for kids, but that's something else that we do. This is the Terrazyme. So I just open this up. It's a digestive enzyme. It gives the body the ability to help break down food and pull out nutrients. So for any little ones that have digestive upset, you can actually open this capsule up, pour some in some applesauce, and that's a great way to help their digestive system. So I'm not sure, Marie, but I'm recording, so I can help out with giving her the recording. She can also type in the number for the Zoom meeting, if it's in her email. Try joining that way. So the digestive system is really, this is giving a lot of those digestive enzymes to help break down food and pull out the nutrients. So the Terrazyme is phenomenal for that. A to Z, I mentioned, it's a multivitamin. It's the traditional over-the-counter multivitamins can have a lot of synthetic fillers. So this is a clean multivitamin. If your child has the MTHFR gene mutation and needs that methylfolate, it has it. So that's something else. And if you're not familiar with what that is, that would be a great thing to do a quick Google search on. IQ Mega, so this has all of those fish oils that I was talking about, great for the brain, great for joints, great for cardiovascular, great for skin. An omega is really important. We put this right in orange juice. So that's a way to get the omegas. It's filled with, or it's flavored with wild orange. And then PB Assist Junior, that's the probiotic. So we do that on a daily basis. The Terrazyme is more here and there as their digestive system is needing it, but we've been using these right along. Okay, this is the Symphony of the Cell. So this is a layering technique, and we're going to talk about different ways that you use essential oils in just a second. But this is a layering technique. So the Symphony of the Cells book is actually a book that has, I just had it right here, and apparently I made it disappear. But it's a book that has different protocols. So you'll see here, there's a protocol specific for inflammation. There's a protocol specific for immune support. There's a protocol specific for respiratory. So you would just open up that section and then you layer oils along the spine. And the intention of it is to create harmony within the cells of the body. So if there's some sort of sickness going through the house, we do a Symphony of the Cells every 3 days. Like I was showing you on that daily protocol, every 3 days, layer along the spine, following the protocol, and it helps tremendously. So just go to symphonyofthecells.com. You can grab the book there, and it will give you different ways or different protocols to follow to help out with whatever's going on with you or your child. You can, if you're dealing with hormonal imbalances, there's protocols for that. So that's another great resource. So when it comes to your pregnancy, your kids, your babies, what are the 3 different ways? So I just kind of mentioned, that was a little bit of a spoiler alert. You can use oils topically on kids. That's completely fine. Aromatic, easiest way to use oils when it comes to kids and babies, because you can just put it in the diffuser and everybody can benefit. So it's great for opening up the airway, cleaning the air, altering mood. So aromatic is great. Just make sure if you're using oils on a baby that you leave the door open. It's just stronger for babies. So make sure it's well ventilated. Topical is another way. So I find that for kids, it's easiest to apply along the spine. or the bottoms of the feet because you don't have to worry about them touching it and then touching their eyes. Just make sure that you're diluting, and I'm going to share a dilution guide in just a second. Diluting meaning that you're mixing it with what's called a carrier oil, something like fractionated coconut oil. Topical application is a great way. Bottoms of the feet is helpful because the oils travel wherever they're needed, so they go around the body. And then internal, so this is based on your comfort level. If you want to wait until they're a little bit older, completely fine, 4 to 6-ish. And the main thing to keep in mind is you don't want to use plastic. You want to use glass, and then put the drop of oil in with the water. The main thing is oils pull out toxins. So if you're putting them in plastic, your kid's going to end up drinking plastic, which defeats our whole purpose behind this. Okay. And then if you really like guidelines, I put this in here. I will admit don't pay too much attention to this, but this is a nice little dosage guidelines, and this will be in the ebook that you get as well, but it just kind of gives you a little guideline as to how much you want to look at aromatic, internal, and topical. Okay. Couple of things to keep in mind safety-wise when you're using the oils on you, yourself, your kids. Oil and water don't mix. We know that, but in the heat of the moment, when we get oil in our eye or in a sensitive area, we want to bathe our kid or wash it off. Oil and water don't mix. It's only going to open up the pores and make it more intense. So instead, you're going to want to use a carrier oil. Citrus, when any oil that has a citrus in it will make your skin more sensitive to sunlight. So don't put the oils on your kid and then go outside and have that part of their body exposed. You don't want to use plastic. I already mentioned that. And then the two areas that you don't want to apply oils, and actually this should have three. I'm sorry, this more so should be eyes and ears. The nose is uncomfortable, so you don't really need to put it up there either, but you don't want to dump them in your ears. You don't want to dump them in your eyes. Something like an ear infection, you'll put it on a cotton ball and just hold it on the outside or tape it, but you don't want to dump them in. And then a couple of things, different resources. So these are my 3 favorite resources: Essential Life and Modern Essentials. These are 2 little resources where you can look up health concerns and it will give you suggested protocols. And then for anyone that's in the season of life of struggling with fertility, miscarriages, labor and delivery, pregnancy, this book is phenomenal. It gives you a lot of the recipes that you're going to see in this tonight are specific from this book. So check that book out. Stephanie Fritz is the author. Remember to use glass. So they make glass roller bottles, they make glass spray bottles, glass cups, and then remember to use your carrier oil. This is a question that gets asked a lot, and this is my simple version. If you go in the resource guides, they'll give you some more cautious approaches, and that's totally fine. You can follow those as well, but these are the stipulations that I follow. So during pregnancy, clary sage is the main one that you want to avoid until your full term. Clary sage will, if the body is ready, it's going to help stimulate labor. I've witnessed this firsthand for 2 deliveries. So it will stimulate contractions once your body is ready, but it's just a good idea to avoid it in its pure form. If it's in a blend, that's fine, but just stay away from it. When you're breastfeeding, you want to avoid peppermint. For some women, peppermint reduces milk production temporarily, but just a cautious rule, just stay away from it. And then for babies, again, this is a more cautious approach. Straight peppermint, straight eucalyptus, they're pretty intense. You can use something like the Breathe blend instead, where it's not so strong breathing wise. Okay. This is the quick dilution guide. Again, if you're a mixer person, awesome, follow this. If you're not, when I'm making an oil bottle, roller bottle for the kids, I keep it to about 5 to 10 drops and in the full bottle total. Okay. So that's just my, like, I'm more of an eyeball type of a person, but if you like charts, feel free to take a picture of this, but this just gives you, so if you were making a 10 milliliter bottle for a baby, you'd put 1 drop in. 10 milliliter for somewhere between 0 to 12. With a 1%, you can put 3. So that's where I say I usually put 5 to 10 total. So I usually follow in this. Okay, but that gives you some different guidelines total. And then for yourself, it's fine. You can, for an adult, I usually put about 20 to 30 drops. So 5 to 10 for a baby or a child is what I follow. 20 to 30 for an adult. What are the best oils to have on hand for kids? So I broke this down a few different ways. There's the touch line. So if you're not a DIY person and you want roller bottles done up for you, they have this great collection called the Touch Kit. And it gives everything is already in a roller bottle. So you can have it right in your kid's bedroom and then it's done and you don't have to think about it. Breathe. Again, feel free to screenshot this because I'm going through everything quickly. Breathe is for respiratory, deep blue, pain, growing pains, teething pains, anything like that. Digestion, stomach issues. Frankincense is for cellular health. Lavender, going to help calm them. It's going to be your bug bite, your bee sting, anything that you need soothing to the skin. Tea tree or melaleuca is cleansing, and it's also good for the immune system. So it's going to help to push out, help the body fight whatever it needs to fight. Cleansing, kind of like, think of it as like your Neosporin. On Guard supports the immune system. Oregano, also sickness. So if your kid is sick, you're going to use tea tree or melaleuca, same thing. On Guard and oregano. Those are going to be the 3 main ones to help push it out. And then I usually use frankincense as well because frankincense helps to keep those cells healthy. So those are 4 different oils for that. And then peppermint, that's a good one if you're dealing with fever or if there's some sort of tension thing going on. Now, if you already have these oils, you can absolutely just turn them into a roller bottle. So just take some fractionated coconut oil. So if you have DigestZen, put about 5 drops of DigestZen in a roller bottle, fill it up with fractionated coconut oil, and then you have it so you can diffuse them, or you can put them in a roller bottle and use them that way. So for those of you that are brand new and trying to figure out, or maybe you already have this kit, this is a great kit to start off with, and then just grab roller bottles and fractionated coconut oil, and you can make all of the stuff that I'm talking about yourself. These are other roller bottles. So they also have something called the Kids Collection. And the Kids Collection is essentially a collection of oils designed specific for kids beyond what those top 10 oils do. So I've paired them together so that you can see the kids version and the adult version. So for focus, concentration, Thinker, and In Tune, Thinker being the child's version. Now keep in mind, you can use the adult version on the kid, you're just going to dilute it more. But these are already cute. They come with flashcards. It's just a great way for your kid to be completely independent. So Thinker and In Tune, great for focus. Steady or Balance, it's great for balancing out emotions. Rescuer and Deep Blue, great for pain. Rescuer is my favorite for teething. Stronger and On Guard is good for immunity. Calmer and Serenity, just good for calming down, sleeping. Brave and Motivate, good for encouragement. And then Tamer and DigestZen is good for digestive issues. Lauren says, my kids ask for calmer every night. I love it when they get, it's amazing how intuitive it becomes for kids. This is just a recipe to prompt the conversation around DIY. There's a lot of great homemade recipes that you can find if you just Google doTERRA DIY for kids. There's recipes on making aromatherapy Play-Doh and foam moon sand or something it's called. There's just fun stuff, but this is a recipe for homemade wipes. And what you'll notice is once you get into this way of living, you can really expand to the point where your diaper bag or your kid's backpack or whatever is all natural products. So you'll notice in here, there's the water bottle to prompt drinking with water, fractionated coconut oil, lavender and tea tree for the, you'll see that in this fractionated coconut oil. So a lot of different ideas, and I'll share more as we progress through. Okay, couple of ideas. Again, you're gonna have to screenshot things just because I could stay here and talk to you for all night, but for the sake of time, this just gives things broken down by trimester. So some of the common issues that people have throughout each of the different trimesters. So it's broken down like that. So just take a screenshot. Breast tenderness, you're just going to apply it to the breast. Constipation, taking the lifelong vitality. I cannot say enough about taking that prior to conception throughout pregnancy. Just amazing. Tara Greens is now the fiber, so just helping with getting everything. There's greens and fiber. The adaptive line is great for mood. Drinking lemon, great for swelling. Peppermint and deep blue, excuse me, are great for headaches. Heartburn, the thing that I found to be the best was Terazyme and Digestin. Terazyme, that digestive enzyme I was talking about earlier. Muscle cramps, you can take the bone nutrient because extra magnesium is helpful. Nausea, again, Terazyme was the best I found with, I'm talking too much and apparently it's dry in here. I found that with morning sickness, putting Terazyme right next to on my nightstand, and as soon as I woke up, I just took that and it helped a ton. There's also those ginger drops, which are great. UTI, some ideas for that as well. In the capsule, you can just take that internally. Okay, second trimester, some ideas for stretch marks, varicose veins, and then that glucose reading to help with your blood sugar. Third trimester, different ideas for if you have strep B, if you want to do the massage to help reduce tearing, hemorrhoids, sleeping, nutrition ideas, again, continuing that lifelong vitality. And then labor and delivery, these are some different ideas to help with reducing pain, helping with stimulating contractions. I'll just share candidly, I only used essential oils during labor and delivery, did a completely natural twice, and I found them to be extremely supportive. So I had a diffuser going in the delivery room, and it helped a ton with calming, and then applying for the healing process as well. Okay, and then the other thing that I found for postpartum was to take the phytoestrogen. So the phytoestrogen is a supplement that helps with regulating hormones. So it's not a fake hormone, it just helps your body to use the hormones that are already in the body the way that they're supposed to, and get rid of the fake hormones that are caused from toxins and different chemicals in the environment. So to help with hormones, that phytoestrogen, whether it's in the beginning, like your teenage daughter is having hormonal imbalances, or you're trying to conceive, or you're postpartum, or you're going through menopause, I think the phytoestrogen is great for all women, just to help keep hormones balanced. Different ideas of sprays, you can get like organic pads and then soak them in witch hazel, lavender, and tea tree and put them in the freezer. So then you have that if you have tearing stuff going on. So some ideas around that. And again, feel free, hopefully you're screenshotting and you'll get this in an ebook as well. Breastfeeding, the lifelong vitality, again, that's going to help to stimulate milk production. You can also use fennel and basil, either internally or to the breast. You want to keep it for about 10 days. You don't want to go beyond that. And then there's some ideas if you do run into mastitis or a clogged duct. Put a T on that. Newborn, I applied essential oils seconds after both girls were born, and I just think it's a great way to support them. So frankincense and myrrh, they gave them to baby Jesus, give them to your baby too. Frankincense and myrrh, great for overall help for the baby, and then balance. If you think about it, you just shot through the birth canal or did a slow shoot through the birth canal. Balance is going to help make that not such a shock to the system. Some other ideas for babies around teething, I mentioned it's not on here, so you might want to take note of this. I find that Rescuer and Calmer, it just happened by accident, but those for my youngest daughter have been the two best combinations. And then for my older daughter, it was lavender, Roman chamomile, and copaiba. So every kid is different, but just some ideas. Any type of skin irritation, remembering that it's coming from the digestive system, some typically. So helping out with that, but there's some ideas. Colic, this is something we're going to talk more about it in the next workshop at 8:45, but explore a tongue tie. And I found this out through my own experience, but tongue and lip ties are a huge proponent for colic, and going to a chiropractor also helped, as well as getting that repaired. Difficulty sleeping, separation anxiety, the diaper rash, you can make your own, or they have diaper rash cream. And then different ideas for supporting the immune system. For children, again, these are just common health things. I did also put on here, they have a doTERRA Science for Kids workbook, which I think is really cool. And also the kids collections come with flashcards. So you can help them be more curious about this. Another idea around emotional wellness is you can make a poster with different core emotions, hang it on your wall, and then you tape a cotton ball to the different emotions with some essential oils on there. So you draw a picture of, let's say, anger, and then you put, let's say, serenity and balance on the cotton ball. Once you recognize that your child is feeling angry, you prompt them to go over to the chart. Which one are you feeling? Take a deep breath of this. So they're learning an association of, oh, I have emotions. It's okay to have them. Here's something that I can do to help my body process through them, rather than it being like a shut it down experience for them. So something else to do with your kids. Sore throat spray. I just want to talk about this because I think this is a really cool idea. You can take the IQ Omega, which is your kids' Omega, put lemon and On Guard in it, put it in a spray bottle, and then they can spritz it in their mouth. So that's another idea. Ideas for ear infection. So I mentioned you're going to put it with a cotton ball, fractionated coconut oil. You can hold it on the ear or tape it. You can also use one of those rice bags and put some dry heat on there as well to help pull out the moisture. And then a little lymphatic massage. So you can really pull down the neck, like take your thumb and pull down on the lymphatic tissue to help with drainage as well. Again, chiropractic is another idea for that. For teenagers, mood-wise, adaptive is great, balance, copaiba, serenity, peace, overall health, lifelong vitality. With teenagers, you're pretty much going to follow adult guidelines. So whatever you're going to use for yourself, you're going to use with your teenager. But again, keeping in mind for their hormones, phytoestrogen is great. Acne, we have a whole class on acne and skincare, but I found for me, phytoestrogen, Terrazyme, and then the lifelong vitality was a complete game changer for that. So, and then there's a couple of ideas: Virage, Tea Tree, Lavender, HD Clear. Those are all things that you can use topically. Okay, and then a couple of ideas. We have a whole advanced wellness workshop specific to removing toxins in the house. So you definitely can just check that out. But these are just some things that I thought, you know what, this would be a great thing to add in. What I did not add in was sunscreen. That's one right now in the summer months. That's a fast way for your kids to get a lot of chemicals. So there's a lot of homemade recipes or cleaner sunscreen. So you can check that out. But toothpaste, don't think about it, but our toothpaste sublingually is the fastest way to get to the bloodstream. So toothpaste is if you can switch out your toothpaste for your kids, that's a great way to help them out. Our kids like this flavor. This is all they've used. So you can try that out, or just look for something more natural for that. Laundry detergent, again, we wear our clothes all day. We don't think about it, but there's a lot of chemicals in that, as well as the fabric softeners. So instead, you can use wool dryer balls, add some essential oils to it, On Guard laundry detergent. This is a cleaner. I highly suggest this for those of you that are in the season of really little ones, because you can spray this. This is the same thing that I use to clean our produce, and it's also the same thing I use to clean our toilet. But you can clean their toys with this, and then if they mouth it, it's no big deal. And then bug spray. Bug spray is another one that is a fast way to get some chemicals in. So TerraShield is a blend designed for repelling insects. So those are some other ways that you can help your kids by switching out chemicals. Okay, I have 5 minutes to spare. Yay, yay, we did it. Okay, so what I would love is have um, if you have some questions and you can put it in the chats, we'll enter your name in a raffle. And then if you any other questions or things that I didn't talk about, I'd love to just have this a little interactive right now. Take a few minutes to answer specific questions or things that you want to learn more about. And then I'll do a little giveaway and we'll wrap up. Or don't. Maybe you're all typing. So there's a chat window on the bottom of your screen. You can chat, and then I'll just follow along with that. I'll come back. I'll give you guys a second, but I'll go through this and then we'll go back to the giveaway. So for those of you that are maybe brand new to essential oils, I will just go over how you can get started, and then I'll also share some things for those of you that are seasoned oilers. So doTERRA offers a option where you can create a wholesale account. I highly suggest that doing that. It doesn't make sense to pay retail. Everyone has access to wholesale. That's the same price I pay. You can pay it too. With that, it's $35 and you can create, so with $35, you get your own wholesale account. There's also starter bundles where you can get your own wholesale account and that $35 is waived and you get a wholesale account for free. So I've just these are some of my favorite starter kits. I think they're just great to start out with for those of you that have kids, but you can browse around. They have different ones. Healthy Start, this gives you those top 10 oils that I was showing that you could turn into roller bottles. So that's a great collection. This targets about 85% of health concerns. Home Essentials brings together some emotion things as well as health related, and you also get a diffuser. And then the Natural Solutions, it's kind of like little, like small, medium, large. Natural Solutions is if you and your kids want to focus on your health. You're going to get hand wash, mouthwash, lotion, toothpaste, supplements, top 10 oils. That when you really are able to start with a lot. So whatever you choose, this month what they're offering is so this is the month of July 2021 for those that possibly are watching this on a recording. So this month is $150 that you start off with. You get $50 for free. So that's the promotion that's available. And then for those of you that are already seasoned in your account or already using doTERRA and seasoned as an oil user, these are some ideas of other things that you can start to explore and add on, or maybe you're just getting started and you want to add this on as well. These are different ideas. So here's the kids collection, the kids vitamins, Terrazyme, the On Guard products that we were talking about. And then to maximize your account, once you have it, you have two ways that you can order. You can order just a standard order like you would if you go online, or you can order through what's called the Loyalty Rewards Program. I suggest this way. It's a great way to save yourself money, get stuff for free. So the way that it works, you choose a date that you want your oils delivered to you, and then you go in and you customize. So it's basically like a customizable wellness box. Each month you go in, you pick what you want, and then it's delivered to you, and then you earn a percentage back. So 10%, 15, 20, 25, and then after you've been doing it for a year, you get 30%. So this just kind of walks you through. Once you're on your account, you'll go to create new LRP, select the date that you want. It'll give you the option to add different items to your cart, choose the shipping, add your payment, and then you process it on the scheduled date that you have. So that is how to maximize that. And then just a little reminder before I go into these chats and questions. Upcoming events every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have an Essential Oil 101 workshop. And then at 8 p.m., for those that are interested in educating other people on the benefits of essential oils, we do our health and income class. And then this is the schedule of the different. So we're at this one. So next week is skincare, and you can see the rest there. Okay, so let's do oil for acid reflux. Okay, so for acid reflux, my suggestion would be taking Lifelong Vitality and Terrazyme, help to break down And then if it's for a kid, tamer, or if it's for an adult, Digestion, either of those are fine. And then I would suggest having, if it's a baby, having it look or having it checked for a tongue and a lip tie. Any suggestions on oils to help with potty training? That's a really great question. I think it's Balance and Cypress for bedwetting that you can apply to the abdomen, but I don't want to be quoted on that. And then peppermint you can put in the toilet bowl, and it will actually stimulate the body to urinate. Oh, a sunscreen recipe. Yes, we can get that. Anything for removing stains. I use the On Guard Cleaner Concentrate with a little bit of lemon, and you can spot treat with that. You can just keep a little roller bottle or a spray bottle of it right in your laundry room. Okay. I think so. We'll get the recipe for sunscreen. When I email you out the resources, I'll make sure there's a sunscreen recipe in there. For dogs, if okay, so we have a pets class. So if you want that, I am not the pet person, but what I do know is you can use the diffuser safely around your pets. Just don't lock them in a closet size room with the diffuser going. So as long as they can walk away, they're fine diffusing. Topical, that's different. And then for migraines, so I have found Lifelong Vitality and phytoestrogen to be great to help regulate. Migraines are a tricky one because it's really dependent on what's going on with the body, but Lifelong Vitality and phytoestrogen are great for that. And then past tense is another good one from an oil perspective, but really trying to figure out what the root is. An elimination diet or a cleanse would be great because it might be food related, so you can see, but I would definitely say Lifelong Vitality, phytoestrogen, and Terrazyme are a great start. Lauren says she uses patchouli for sunscreen. The diaper rash cream is also something that has zinc oxide in it, which is what the natural sunscreens are contained. That's the sun protection component. For stains, I use the laundry detergent and add water in a spray bottle. Tougher stains, I use the detergent straight up. There we go. Cool. Good conversations. Okay, so let's do a little giveaway, and then Lauren, Paula. So I'm going to give away a balance and an aromatherapy bracelet. This is a great thing for kids, for you can put the bracelet on the kids and then they can go to school wearing that. Sorry, I'm just trying to write this down and also get all of these. This is not the fastest option, but I'm writing it down like we're in 1974. Put it all in there. All right, one more message. What do we got? Past tense, Car says, for roller bottles. Paula, can you direct message me and I will mail you the balance and the bracelet? Cool. All right. Well, I think that is all I have for the kids class. We're going to switch gears and talk about language and feeding development, unless anyone has any other things that you want to share before we wrap up. All right. Well, we'll take just a second break if you want to get situated. If you're staying on and you want to use the restroom, we'll I'm just going to get organized for a second and then we will switch gears.
Oh, goodness. Okay, this is Paula. How do I direct message you?
I will, let's see. How about if I type my cell phone in the chats, is that easiest? You can just text me. How about that?
That'd be awesome. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. I just have to figure out how to get to the chat now because all this stuff is up.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Hey, Katrina,
Yeah, go
can
ahead.
you see the moon in the background?
Oh, that's
Can you
pretty
see the
cool.
moon?
Yeah, that's awesome. We got a good view. I love it. All right, I will go ahead and get started. We're going to transition now into feeding development and speech and language development. And just again, I know many of you were on the earlier class and you've already heard this, but for those that are maybe watching the recording or tuning in, and just watching this one, I'm Katrina Potter. I am a speech language pathologist. My specialty is in pediatric feeding development, and I'm trained in something called SOS feeding, which is basically designed for children with oral sensory aversions to food, transitioning off of feeding tubes, helping with oral motor development, and also aversions to different sensory experiences with food, which is all gibberish, I know, but that's my previous life before getting into switching gears and doing doTERRA full time. So I'm going to merge together that. I also worked with the pediatric population with communication development. And so my intention is to merge together both of those worlds and share with you different tips and tricks, because I feel like as a parent now, I'm constantly tapping into that information for myself. And I just feel like what better to be in a community of people that are committed to supporting each other. So that's my intention for sharing this information. I also have a passion for emotional wellness development. I'm a certified integrative holistic life coach, and I really enjoy working with individuals on releasing emotional um, things that are holding, like obstacles, I guess, that are holding people back emotionally. So I pair that in with, I think little kids are sponges. And so if we can learn ways to emotionally support them and communicate to them in a way that creates that emotional maturity, why not? Right. So just kind of sharing all of that tonight. And then I also have my own littles. I have a 4-year-old and a 1.5 years old. And so I will just kind of share some things that I have been nudged to learn more about in my own parenting journey as well. Again, I mentioned this in the earlier class, but I'm going to say it again. My intention is to be fully expressed, share with you things that I love and have learned and am in support of. And your job is to take what feels in alignment for you, use it, and then know that you get to choose. You have your own free will. You can take it or leave it. So I'll just share it and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to talk about feeding development. I'm also going to talk about the difference between a picky eater and a problem eater and share some resources if your child maybe falls into that problem eater category. Talk about typical language acquisition and then different things that you can do with your kids to continue to support that language development, sharing different resources and things. And then earlier, I did a class on wellness tips and tricks for pregnancy, babies, children, and teenagers. So some that are on tonight are following up, right up, piggybacking off of that. And if you want that, you're welcome to the recording if you missed out. All right, so some quick recommendations just to dive in and talk about feeding. So we're going to do feeding first. This is one of the things when I walk into a preschool classroom or a daycare that is like the first thing that I notice. And if we think about kids as if we're ourselves, if you go to a restaurant and you're sitting at a bar stool and your legs are dangling and there's no foot rail, it's really challenging to focus on the conversation at hand when all you're thinking about is that your feet are dangling. And yet when kids are in school, a lot of them have dangling feet. So when you look at this kid here with the red X, their feet are dangling. Now what happens is all of their body then starts thinking about what needs to happen in order to stay up, versus this kid is pretty securely seated. They're in what's called the 90-90-90 seating position. So back to butt to legs, 90 degrees, thighs, knees, shins, 90 degrees, and then their feet, ankles, shins, 90 degrees. You can also put a little skid mat under their hiney so they are not slipping out. And this isn't specific to high chairs. This is if they're sitting at a table doing work too. Just toss a step stool under their chair so they have something to sit on. So that's just something from a seating recommendation that I notice, and it's just really important that your kid, as they're transitioning into solids, is seated in the upright position, not laid back. They're all of the mechanics start to shift, and so laying down to eat starts becoming something to be aware of. Cup recommendations. So we don't think about it, but the cups that kids drink from really impact how their mouth develops. So similar to chronic pacifier use, which can really impact the tongue coordination, the teeth alignment, so can a sippy cup. So I'd encourage you to, if your child or grandchild or niece, nephew, babysitting kids, whoever you're here to listen and learn about, if they're using this, try to transition over to a cup like this. So what you'll notice is this is kind of like a coffee thermos. The lips go right around this part. There's a little hole here, and it's a mature drinking pattern. So these are my favorite. They do have those silicone 360 cups. I've just found that those are more challenging for kids to get the hang of. These cups are great. You can pull the stopper out. The liquid spills right into their mouth. They learn pretty quickly with these, and then you can put the stopper back on. Okay, try to get out of these that have either the soft nipple or the hard nipple. Transition wise, I mentioned pacifiers, trying to transition a pacifier out around the 6-month age, which I know is not the popular opinion. Sorry, but that will help out a lot. And then the bottle around a year. There are these kind of nipple type tops around a year. So the thing to just be thinking of is when I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second so you can see me. So when you are, not like you're, nobody here is probably using a pacifier, but when there's a pacifier is used, the tongue comes forward into this type of a holding pattern. So when a child wants to talk or eat, now their tongue has to come back and then maneuver around. Takes extra steps, and so it typically is like, more work. The kid doesn't typically, our little bodies know how to not work any extra. So it usually can cause some sort of a delay. So just some things to keep in mind. Similar to that, if you want to expedite the coordination of the tongue, you can use what's called hard munchables. And hard munchables are basically hard objects that can't be, a bite can't be taken out of. So there's not a choking hazard. So, but the goal there becomes the child can put the object in the side of their mouth. So something like carrot sticks. The little baby in this case can put that carrot stick in their mouth. And then as that food is on the side of their mouth, their tongue reflex wise just starts exploring that. So it really helps with that tongue lateralization that's necessary for chewing. So if you think about, usually a baby starts mushing their food. When we want to get into that mature chewing pattern, we need to do that tongue lateralization. So this helps with getting that tongue coordinated. It helps with desensitizing the gag reflex. It helps with that hand to mouth coordination. So there's a lot of benefits to these hard munchables. Beef jerky is another one, celery sticks, peppers. The goal is for them to not be able to take a bite off. So if they're taking a bite off, it's turns into more of a safety concern. You can also get those little mesh feeders. I don't know if you've seen those. If you do the mesh feeders, what I would suggest is put a couple, let's say you're using blueberries, put a couple of blueberries in there and then twist it so it becomes stick shaped, put it in the side of the mouth in the same way that you would a hard munchable, and then they're able to chew on that. So that is a hard munchable that just helps with that coordination. Texture spoons, these are just another way to increase the sensory experience around feeding. Not necessarily needed for a child that's typically developing. But one thing that I do want to mention, regardless of if you're using a textured spoon or you're using a regular spoon, is it's really important to not scrape the food. So if you think about when a baby puts a puree in their mouth, typically it spills out. And then what often happens is we scrape the food off of their mouth. That can create, if you think about somebody scraping a spoon on your chin, it just can create a negative experience associated to feeding. So not the best for blossoming that feeding development. Constipation can be a huge thing as to what's causing food aversions. So just looking at, okay, is there something going on with that? I mentioned in the earlier class, getting a probiotic, getting a digestive enzyme, fiber, maybe doing that elimination diet. We don't get as much of the nutrients that we used to from foods. We're about 100 apples different. So one apple in the 50s we would have to eat 100 apples to get the same amount of nutrition from them. So adding in a high quality vitamin can help out with that as well, to make sure that everything is functioning properly so that they're able to best support their body and be set up for the best feeding opportunity. You might need to try an elimination diet. So if you notice that they're having some sort of digestive enzyme or digestive issues, you can look at these foods and just try to omit one for about 30 days and take notice of how their eating has changed. Okay, tongue and a lip tie. I'm going to go on a little soapbox for a second because I was called, my baby was called lazy. I was called a crazy SLP mom. And I was told by 3 different pediatricians that there was nothing going on, that they were just, my oldest daughter was just lazy and that's why she wasn't nursing. Well, babies aren't lazy. They're something is going on. So when I went to a pediatric dentist that's a specialist in tongue and lip ties, what I found was she actually had the most severe tongue and lip tie that you can have, and that was what was impacting her breastfeeding experience. So tongue and lip ties, we typically think about a tongue tie as being like the tip of the tongue is anchored, and that's not the case. So this is what's called a posterior tongue tie. And what you can see is when this baby tries to elevate their tongue, it doesn't go up all the way. This little tie is anchoring it down. Well, when they're trying to nurse, they end up sucking in a lot of air, which can cause a really colicky baby. So that's something, if you're experiencing a lot of colic, that might be what's going on. Now, a lip tie is, you can see it goes right down to the base of the gum. So when the teeth start to come in, there's this little gap in between them. Well, when this baby is trying to nurse, they're not going to be able to latch because this lip can't phalange out over the breast as well as if it wasn't anchored. So this baby ends up sucking a lot of air because they get a shallow latch. Mom doesn't produce enough milk because the shallow latch, it's telling her body the baby doesn't need it. This baby ends up cluster feeding a lot because it doesn't get all of the milk. It can't empty the breast. And so it just creates this perpetual cycle. It's an easy thing to repair if you choose to repair it, but I just think that information is not readily available on that. And so that was something, it was a huge game changer. Both of our daughters had them repaired, and it was a huge difference on their mood, how they felt. So these are some different symptoms to look for. If you have somebody that maybe is experiencing this, just be an advocate for, hey, get it checked out. Now, not every provider is specialized in tongue and lip tie. So I would recommend Dr. Kotlow. He's out in the Albany area. He's world renowned for this. And I just feel like you don't mess around when it's somebody's mouth, right? But these are the different symptoms. You'll see mom's symptoms if she's nursing, and then the baby's symptoms. So definitely something worth looking into when it comes to supporting child's feeding development. And then this is what they do to check for it. They just lay the baby in the lap, peek in under there, and then they can check to see what's going on. This is the pediatric dentist that I was talking about. That's who we went to for both of the girls. The other thing that's important for overall development is routine chiropractic adjustments. But after a baby's been had their tongue and lip tie repaired, this is also something that's going to help with reacclimating the body. Torticollis is common. It's common to come hand in hand with a tongue and a lip tie, and so chiropractic adjustments can also help with that. This is our chiropractor. That's Dr. Pete. He's in the Oneida area. He's great with kids. Those are our two little girls. Okay, so let's talk about picky eater versus a problem eater. 20% of children on average struggle with some type of feeding issue or growth issue in the first 5 years of their life. So let's go into what's the difference between if they're just picky or if they have something going on. So a picky eater is a child that has a decreased range or variety of foods, but they'll eat more than 30 foods. They might burn out of a food, meaning they've ate it a lot, but then they'll go back to eating it after a couple of weeks. They can tolerate new foods on the plate. They usually can touch them or taste them. They can eat more than one food from all of the food groups, meaning they can eat something that's crunchy. They can eat like carbs, fruits, vegetables. They can eat multiple things from multiple food groups. Typically, they'll eat with the family, but they'll typically or often eat something different than what the family has. So that's a picky eater. A problem eater is a child that has less than 20 foods. So what you'll notice with a problem eater is they often have a very low amount of foods. They'll often burn out from a food. So maybe they eat chicken nuggets every single day, and then all of a sudden they refuse the chicken nuggets. Well, then they typically don't go back to eating chicken nuggets once they do that. A problem eater cries or falls apart with new food situations. They refuse to eat the entire food group. So they won't eat any puree. They won't eat any cold food. They won't eat any, you name it, XYZ. They might have to eat alone because it's just so overwhelming to eat with the family. And the whole term, well, if they're hungry enough, they're going to eat, doesn't work with a problem eater. It's not about a power struggle. Something is going on experientially in their body. So let's just talk real quick about feeding or eating, because it's the most demanding sensory experience for a child. And if you think about it, if you were to close your eyes and somebody said, here, try this, and they toss sushi in your mouth, you haven't ate that, just toss it in your mouth, you're going to be like, holy smackers, it's a brand new experience. Well, that's kind of what eating is like for kids. So when we are looking at introducing foods to kids, we want to be approaching it like they're an adult with their eyes closed, because we say, oh, it's broccoli, you like broccoli. Well, raw broccoli is very different than steamed broccoli, than roasted broccoli, than boiled broccoli. Like it all might better just be a different food to a child. So if we can look at it from that standpoint, it really lessens the frustration for children. We're going to talk about different things tonight. And the main thing that I want to just share is the intention is to raise awareness. If you suspect that there might be something going on with your child, maybe your child is falling into that problem eater category and you want additional support or resources, these are some things that are available to you. So through early intervention, when your child is 0 to 3, you can call the county and provider will evaluate your child to see if they are delayed, if they're not delayed, and you can qualify for services that are in home. Between 3 and 5, it's through CPSC, so you can call the school and have your child evaluated. Building Blocks is in Clinton, New York. That's private pay, so you can bring your child for private pay speech or feeding through your insurance. And then a developmental pediatrician will help identify the cause for the child's developmental delay. So if you're like, jeepers, something is off, but I'm not sure what, then a developmental pediatrician can help out with that. And then a chiropractor for routine adjustments. Okay, so when it comes to kids eating, it's really important that we look at this as success. So this is the hierarchy, and it takes transitioning through this whole hierarchy in order to be able to eat a food. So being able to tolerate it. I know for me, being in the same room when a really fragrant fish is being cooked is really hard for me. So if that's the case, that's a success if the child can all of a sudden now be in the same room as fish is being prepared. Okay, then it becomes touching it, then a whole hand touch. So you can just kind of see these different, and again, take a screenshot of this so you can see, because what you can do is, if you're familiar with the feeding hierarchy of what needs to happen in order for a child to feel comfortable chewing and swallowing it, you can really lighten the stress or the load of mealtime, because then you can look at, let's say you have broccoli, you can say, oh, why don't you take that little green tree, so talk about it as if you're a child, and make a little car out of it. Okay, now that's going to help them because they're going to grab the broccoli and drive it around like a car. Now you've just got them to transition down to touching the food with their whole hand and manipulating it. So you've already, that one little game just boop, took it from up here to down here. So playing games with that, we do things like, okay, that's okay if you don't want to eat it, just explore it. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? Is it smooth? Is it bumpy? Is it hot? Is it cold? Does it, whatever. You just start talking about the attributes, and this is a great way for them to explore language development as well. But touching foods to their lips, so we might say, okay, that's fine, you don't have to eat it, but why don't we give it a kiss goodbye? Or put it on your no thank you plate. So that's another way to get them, okay, you don't want it on your plate, that's fine, but you can put it on the no thank you plate, which is just another plate right next to them. But it's gets it off of their plate, and then they have to pick it up and put it on there. So there's different ideas and things to keep in mind to help transition through that. But again, just keep in mind that we as adults are familiar with foods, but we've gone through all of these sequences in order to be able to tolerate a food. So if we can look at this from the angle of a child and think about it as a food is brand new, think about it like your eyes are closed, that's going to help really lighten that stress around mealtime. Okay, so when we talk about food, what we want to really be focused on is creating positive experiences. If we say you can't have dessert until you eat your broccoli, it turns broccoli into the villain. Versus if we say, oh, let's see, is it hot or cold? What does it sound like when we bite it? Is it loud or is it quiet? That makes broccoli an exciting game and gets rid of this power struggle. So the more that we can keep it about what we're in front of, okay, let's take another bite. We really want to build our body up nice and strong, versus you have to eat your broccoli so that you can have ice cream. That it's very different energy around that. So a lot of positive reinforcement and play really helps to increase overall feeding development. Okay. So again, just to reiterate, every food in a different state is different. So pureed broccoli is very different than roasted broccoli, is very different than raw broccoli. It's fun. The more that you can explore it, the more that your child will be comfortable with trying new foods. So if it's not, you have to eat it, you eat your peas, you have to eat them, and it becomes, look at what I can do. And you bite pea and a bite of pea, and everybody plays and giggles. Now the whole table is motivated to try the peas. So a couple other things to help stimulate feeding development with family meals, still exposing them to the non-preferred foods, so still putting it on their plate. It can take up to 52 times of exposure to a food before we really are able to love it. So that's something to keep in mind. Family meals where everybody is sitting down, kids learn by us eating and they watch how we eat. Discussing the sensory properties, where everybody is talking about it. So it's not just that the child is doing it, but the parents are doing it too. What is it like for mommy? What is it like for daddy? Really over exaggerating motor movements. So I know have a picture right now of my husband with asparagus. He'll put it in his mouth and wiggle it around, and the girls giggle, and then they try to do it. And then it becomes like this big exaggerated chew for asparagus, but it motivates them to eat it. So anytime that we can make it fun, help the child helping them cook, not making it an adrenaline invoking exercise, because the minute that we have adrenaline running through our body, our appetite suppresses. Okay, so that's just a couple of things to keep in mind. You can have a cleanup bowl, a learning plate. So if it's on their learning plate or their no thank you plate, it's something that they're not comfortable with eating it yet, but they're able to, okay, I'll put it on my no thank you plate or my learning plate, and then I'll talk about what it looks like. I'll talk about what it smells like and explore it some more. So these are different things. And then each feeding experience, you want them to have a protein, a starch, and a fruit or a vegetable. That's just going to increase their exposure to new foods. Casseroles, fried rice, and soup is a lot more challenging than it would be to just have rice or broth. We're mushing together a lot of different experiences. If you want to get if your child struggles with eating pasta, you can look at it from a hierarchy. So you start with raw noodles, and then you cook them or you put them in a little bit of water, and then you cook them a little bit more. Meats, you can crisp the bacon, you can fry the bologna, like, try them in different textures. Try dried fruits, tried the freeze-dried fruits, like try them in different ways so that they can explore new palettes. I think we pretty much talked about this. So for picky eaters, just start talking about the characteristics, talking about a learning plate, a no thank you bite. That's just something, no thank you bite, they just take a bite and they're done, but they've at least tried it, explored it. Okay, any questions on feeding? I know that was a lot of information, and hopefully that gives you some new things to think about, but does anybody feel free to put your questions in the chat. I feel like I'm just talking a lot. Would love some interaction. Okay, so these little slides, I'm just going to give you, these are typical language development. Take a screenshot if you want, and then I'll give you some ideas. So 0 to 5 months, it's all about cooing, giggling, laughing. The more that you can talk to them, read them stories, narrate what you're doing when you're doing it. So, oh, mommy's going to go grab the milk. Ooh, watch mommy, I'm going to pour it in. Just talking about that's really stimulating their language understanding. 6 to 11 months, they're starting to babble a little bit more. So with this age bracket, again, still doing the same thing, you can start to do gesturing. So with gesturing, because we can't get in a child's mouth and make them talk, we use gesturing as the first step for language production. So you can grab their hands and help them sign more, or help them sign please, in order for them to communicate. So if your child is sitting in the high chair and they want more blueberries, you just grab their hands, you have them sign more, you say more please, or more blueberries, more, and then you give them the blueberries. So they're learning, oh, when I do this, I get what I want. So more, which is just those two fingers your hands coming together, or please, which is rubbing your chest. Those two gestures will explode language, because it's teaching them, when I do this, I get what I want, versus them learning, when I tantrum or when I cry, I get what I want. Okay, so those are just different ideas. A little bit older, 12 to 17 months, they start putting words together, making words. Again, still doing the same thing. What you can then start doing is offering two choices. So that's kind of the next step. If you offer two choices, they're able to point to what they want. So if you know that they want milk and they're tantruming because they want milk, say, hold up the milk and hold up the juice. Say, do you want milk or juice? They'll point to milk and you say, oh, I want milk, please. So you're just offering them two choices, you're withholding the item so that they have to gesture to what they want, and then you expand once you know. So they pointed to the milk, I want milk, please. And then you grab their hand and you help them say please. So that they've learned all of that. Okay. 18 to 23 months, their vocabulary is increasing, starting to do animal sounds, putting two words together, doing all of the same things that we were just talking about. But now you can start adding in like a Mr. Potato Head or a baby doll for body parts. You can do a twister board and pull out the twister board and then say, like, let's go find something red and match it to a red circle. Let's go find something yellow and put it on a yellow circle. So just starting to play around with that, making animal sounds with them. And this is where the emotional development part comes in. So if you want to check out a resource, her name is Janet Lansbury, and she does a lot on emotional wellness with kids and just talking to them in a way that they are able to explore their emotions. So she does a lot of the concept around like just verbalizing what you're doing with them, talking through things with them, rather than it just being a because I said so style. And then redirecting and doing time in with a child. So rather than them doing something naughty and they go in time out, time in is it becomes an opportunity to talk through it with them. So it's important that you, let's say if the child is out near, running out in the street, rather than it become a screaming situation and them going and, getting put in timeout or whatever, it becomes a sit down, get at their level and explain to them why that's not a safe choice. Now they're starting to learn through it rather than receiving that separation of you and them. Okay. A couple other things and then we'll wrap up. We're going to be done in a couple more minutes. So at 2 to 3 years, they're starting to use 3-word sentences, answering questions, understanding pronouns. So in this age, again, still reading them stories, talking to them, narrating what you're doing, expanding upon what they're saying. Oh, drink, please, mommy. Still doing the redirect. Check out Janet Lansbury again for this age group because you're going to start seeing more of those tantruming. And then labeling verbs and pronouns during story time. So as you're looking at a book, it might be, oh, what's he doing? He is running. So they can hear he, the pronoun, and then running, the verb. So they're starting to be more aware of those types of things. And then from 3 to 4, they're starting to get more of those articulation of their sounds. They're starting to be easily understood more. Understanding more high level questions. So what do you do when you're hungry? So for this, you can put a sticker on a baby, like put a sticker on their eye. He has a sticker on his eye. So then they're getting those he body parts, longer sentences, labeling verbs and pronouns during story time again. You can do sorting games. So you can put food and animals together and then, okay, let's take out all the animals. Let's take out all the foods. Let's take out all the red. Let's take out all the blue and start exploring all of that with them. And then the last one that we'll wrap up with, actually there's 2 more, I guess, but 4 to 5 becomes more spatial concepts. So behind, next to, those types of things. Larger words, irregular past tense, blah, blah, blah. This can be fun to start doing guessing games. I don't know if you've ever seen that game. Oh my goodness, I can't think of what it's called. Headbands is the name of it. So they wear a headband, a card goes on, it might be a picture of a hat, and then you say, okay, this is something that you wear on your head. And then they have to say hat. Or you can be doing a puzzle and you have all of the, like, let's say it's one of those wooden animal puzzles. You put all the puzzle pieces out, you could say, find me the animal that gives us milk. So then they're starting to think more in the reverse and be thinking about, that, oh, the cow is the cow. You can hide items behind, in, on. So they have to find the item and then where was it? It was behind the chair. So they're having to explore more of those prepositions. Okay. And then the last thing is 5 years and on. This is higher level directions. They're able to describe things more and use their imagination. So a couple of ideas here that you can do is, again, the guessing game based on attributes. You can ask questions during the story. So, oh, she's dirty. Why do you think she's dirty? What do you think happened? What's other ways that you get dirty? You can do counting and letters. There's this thing I saw on Pinterest where you take solo cups and you write all of the letters of the alphabet on each of the solo cups. And then you give them a soccer ball. You line up all of the alphabet and you say, okay, go kick the ball to the K. And then they have to kick the ball. Or if they're not yet in that level of coordination with the ball, you can just say, go kick the K, and they have to kick the K over. And it's just a fun way for them to learn their ABCs. You can also take a fly swatter, put letters out, and then say, okay, can you find me the A? And they have to swat the A on the card. So just different ideas to help stimulate the language development. But I think that's it. Yeah, just these are other workshops, upcoming events. If you're interested in different education that's coming up, Essential Oil 101 workshop, Tuesdays at 7, health and income. If you're interested in creating a business with Tara, that's Tuesdays at 8. And then these are our other advanced wellness workshops. So if you're curious on that. That's it. I feel like I've been talking so much. So I'm not sure if you have any questions. I know I talked about a wide variety of things, but if you have questions, I'm happy to stay on. You can put them in the chat section. Otherwise, that was all I was planning to share. If you are interested, you will be receiving an ebook in the next couple of days with all of the resources that were shared tonight and different supports for that. So that will be coming as well. All righty. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for staying on, sharing your evening with me. It looks like there is a chat. Okay. Yes, Morgan, I do have the recording for you, so no problems there. Good. Thanks. I'm glad it was helpful. You're welcome. Cool. I'm glad you guys were still listening, because for a hot minute, I kind of felt like nobody was listening and I was talking to myself. So, oh, awesome. Well, have a good evening, everybody. I'll stay on if you have specific questions. Otherwise, have a good night.
You were not talking to the wall.
Oh my God, it's so hard. And I totally get it because I hide myself in my video. Whoops, that is not what I meant to do. Dark in here. I hide myself too, like if I'm multitasking and I'm folding laundry and listening to a call or something. So I totally get it. But then from the talking perspective, I'm like, who am I talking to right now? Is there anybody? So
all of us. It was good stuff. I'm so bummed I missed it, but I could listen to you talk forever.
Well, good. Because I could talk
stuff.
forever.
So you're not talking to yourself, even if you're not getting that feedback, but
well, good. Yeah. It's all helpful stuff. And I feel like, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit crazy, but I'll occasionally evaluate my kids just because I'm like, shit, I don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So I do a quick evaluation and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally dropped the ball with that. So that's why I was like, I just feel like, I don't know, as parents, it's helpful to share this kind of stuff because nobody.
Well, and I'm not a parent yet, but we hope to be one day soon. So it's really helpful for me now to like get these things in my brain. Like you're making points and I'm like, it makes sense, but my brain doesn't like know to think that, or even like with like nieces and nephews and little cousins. So
check out that book if you're one day planning to. It's honestly that book. Janet Lansbury has two books, or she has a couple books. I think there's 2. That was my dog, in case you just heard that noise. It was awful. But it's like toddlers, parenting without shaming or something like that. But really the concepts that are in that book are just great for us to communicate as adults together. Like talk in a way where you're not shaming your kid, talk in a way where you're not shaming your friend. Like it just is nice communication.
Yeah, good, like, yeah, basic
life stuff.
Yeah.
So
sounds good.
Cool. All right, ladies. Well, have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later. Bye.